Okay, y'all, I feel like some of you guys have been waiting for this review for a while. Hello, hello. Today we have the Orgy 2 palette from Jeffree Star Cosmetics. I have been taking my time working with this palette. I think I've been using this palette for about a month and a half now. I think that's probably when you'll see my shorts coming up. It's very, in your face. just a little bit of, cheekiness. Definitely the implication is there, like the first one. I feel like though this one isn't as maybe explicit as the first one was, and I see your questions. I do see them. Heather, what's better, Orgy or Orgy 2? What should I buy, Orgy or Orgy 2? What's the comparison? So look, I'm gonna be straight up with y'all like I always am. I don't have the first Orgy palette. The first time I bought it, I opened it up, I looked at it, I said boring. That was back in 2020. 2020, I originally bought the palette. I said it was boring, I gave it to my cousin. The second time, I think I got it in a Jeffree Star mystery bag. I was really excited. I'm like, that's really cool because I know it's one of his more expensive palettes, but I was still not interested. His first original Orgy palette is a full matte palette. I am, and have been for pretty much the entirety of me using makeup, a shimmer girl. I love shimmers. Shimmers are my jam. I would rather do a full shimmer look than a matte look. So that second palette I gave to my friend. I sent it to my friend in England all the way over there so she could have it, because she's a very matte girly and she wears very neutral eyeshadow looks whether she's going to the store or going to a ball with her husband. So they have those palettes. I have never tried those, but I think if I'm going to assume, this is 100% just me assuming, it's just a theory, that palette is very popular. It's one of his most sold palettes. I'm going to guess that the matte shades in there are very good. I think overall, Jeffree Star Cosmetics matte shades have always been consistently reliable. They've been consistently very easy to use and blend out, very pigmented. So I'm going to come with that theory that is the experience for a lot of people who use that palette. I also feel like that palette is very, anyway, obviously anyone can buy it, but I feel it's very much geared towards maybe MUAs, because I think that is probably the most perfect palette for MUAs. The first palette that I gave away when I originally got it, I gave it to my cousin who is an MUA, and she's been loving that palette. She's been loving that palette for years. I know she's just waiting to see if I give her another one. We'll see if I ever get my hands on another one. I haven't yet, but I did get this one. Of course, it was on sale. And this is the front. Here is the back. Like I said, it's very cheeky, and you'll find all that information with the ingredients on the back, on all that right there. You open it up, it's got this very like pearlescent kind of packaging there. You see Orgy 2, there is Jeffree. So this time we don't have a bunch of people, just it's just the two and the word Orgy on there. So there's a lot less people. He hired a lot less people for this one. He's still in the nude. You'll find the name on the side there as well. And the ingredients you're going to have to find on the actual box packaging, because you're not going to see it here on the palette. So if we open it up, my review. How did I like this palette? It worked very, very well. This is a really good palette. I think from my perspective, I'm happy to be keeping this palette versus the first Orgy palette, because like I said, I'm gonna hold it this way so you can see a lot more. Hold it like a book. I like shimmer shades. This has shimmer shades. Now the first Orgy palette came out with, it was this big all matte palette, and then of course people were like, Jeffree, where are the shimmers? So he came out with a mini palette of just shimmers. I bought that palette. I bought it, I used it, and I thought these shimmers were weak. The shimmers were weak. I didn't really like them. There was something weird with the formula. I know that the first go around there was something weird with the formula, so he ended up, I don't know if he refunded people, but he did resend the new mini Orgies to the people who had ordered them initially, and with the updated formula. And from the videos that I saw, it is a better formula. I got my palette the second time around and I still did not like the shimmer formula. Sometimes, occasionally, very rarely, but occasionally, those shimmers don't hit, especially for his older palettes. And that mini I'm sure it has a different name, but that mini Orgy palette, it didn't hit. I did not like those shimmers. Now in here, do we have to worry about that? No. I thought the shimmers in here worked very well. They were very pretty. I was surprised by the range, because when I look at this, I see a lot of light shades, and then I feel like it immediately almost goes into dark, and there's not much in between, and that kind of scared me, because when I look at this, I'm like, these are the shades an MUA needs. I don't need all these light shades, and I still don't think I need these light shades, okay? But it was cool to see. Again, similar to palettes that I pointed out to before, you have like a white, but then you'll have like a very light white with like orange, a light white with pink, more neutral shades, one that's a little bit more brown, this one has a little bit more yellow, like, and they're all light colors, and it's all color theory, and that's why I think this is a great MUA palette. This is probably all the neutral shades you will ever need. Like I said, I was surprised by the variety with this palette. I created a kind of gothy alternative look. With this palette, I created a very orangey brown fall look. With this palette, I created a very classic 50s look. And I wasn't expecting to have that range with this. I thought it was going to be very kind of same note, and in some ways, it kind of is. It's literally just a couple hairs of a difference for some of the looks that I did. But there is a lot more range than I thought I was going to get and what I was expecting. So let me start swatching some of these shades so you can see. So I think ultimately, to answer your question, because I did get the question once I started posting shorts, which one should I get? Which one is better? And I think that I'm going to assume, right, that they're both really good. I make a lot of complaints about light shades, because usually light shades you cannot see on my skin. It is a problem I constantly have, but here I think you can see, if I can remember what colors I just touched, you can pack this on. It is very, very buildable. You can see these shades. That is amazing. They're so easy to use. This palette makes me feel like a professional. They're really, really pretty. I think the question you need to ask yourself is whether or not you want shimmers in your palette. What is worth it to you? If you don't like to wear shimmers, if you wear shimmers rarely, maybe you don't need the Orgy 2. Maybe you're fine with just the first Orgy, and that's the one you're going to be using, like my friend Megan, every day, but also to, you know, go to a wedding or to go to the office. Maybe that's the palette you need. I liked this because I like shimmers. I like to wear shimmers. Maybe you just want the shimmers for when you do need them, okay? So I'm going to swatch some in particular. Let's see, I think it was, let's do Starhole. Let's do Starhole. I want to do Snowballing. What were my favorites in here? I really loved Donkey Punch. I really like Donkey Punch. And then I think, was it Never Enough? This really dark shade here. Look at that. Super pigmented. They're very good. They're not super shimmery. They're not super glittery. They're not super intense shimmers, but they are there and they are loud and they are proud, baby. Look at that. These remind me almost of the, was it the Star Wedding palette? Like that level of just shimmer and matte goodness. It is so good. Look at this is the orange that I wore. I created like a fall look with that shade. Look how beautiful that shade is. And then we got this brown. I think I used this one for my kind of gothy look. These are very nice. And then I'll swatch a couple of the more middle shades that we've got here. So let me swatch, I'll swatch this one. And then maybe we'll do like this one. Just so you can see some of these darker shades. Let's do Big Daddy. Because the majority of this palette is mattes, I think. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So 6, 12, 13, 14. So the majority of the palette is mattes, but it almost seems half and half. It's almost half and half. Swatch this. That's really pretty. You know, it's not super visible on my skin, but that is a really good kind of almost match for my skin. It would seem more natural. Well, look at all these shades. They're really, really pretty. Let me do a gold. Which gold did I like? Was it? I think it was Mealtime. I think I liked Mealtime. This is a cooler gold. And look at here. I'm running out of arm. Pack it on more. Sorry, I'm getting, as I go down my arm, there's more hair, so it's harder to swatch it. That's a nice gold right there. I'm so in love with this Donkey Punch color, this orange. I was just so astounded that I accidentally created a fall look in July. Like, that was an accident. But let's clean them off. He looks dirty. Here's what it comes down to, like I said. Do you want shimmers? Yes or no? I can't exactly tell you which palette is better, which palette I think you should get. I think what it comes down to is, do you want shimmers in your palette, yes or no? I also want to see, I'm sure someone has to have compared these side by side in person, right? Like, it has to be somewhere, right? Alright, so I pulled up a picture, which I might put over this video you're watching. I pulled up a picture of the original Orgy palette, and I'm looking at this, and I would think as well, if you are perhaps darker, if you have more pigment in your skin, the Orgy 2 palette might be better. I feel like looking at the pictures, again, I don't have it in person, so I don't really know, the pictures might be lying. This palette feels a lot warmer, and it also looks like the shades at the bottom here specifically seem a bit darker. So, again, ultimately, I think whether or not these shades are going to pop up, this other palette, the Orgy original that I'm looking at, it looks like it's a lot more geared towards light to medium versus this being more almost light to dark. I don't know how the original Orgy palette would fare on deeper skin. But the original Orgy looks very neutral almost to me, almost very kind of gray toned. The first row is definitely dark, and then it slowly does go up, but the 3 rows on the bottom of the original Orgy palette almost look like they're in the same tone. It's hard to tell. Versus this, I feel like we have 2 lights on the bottom, 1 kind of medium row, and then this last 2 rows feel a lot darker. I don't know what your opinion of it is. I would love to know down below. What do you think of the Orgy versus Orgy 2 conversation? Like, where do you land on this? What do you think is better? To me, I think regardless of the shades, I do think that the original Orgy palette does come down to you not wanting shimmers and wanting maybe more neutral kind of grayish toned shades, because this palette, I guess maybe it's cooler, maybe it's a more neutral cool palette, because this palette feels a lot more neutral warm. This is definitely a more warm skinned toned palette, and there's also shimmers in here. So if you want the shimmers, if you want warmer tones, if you're maybe a more medium tan, deeper toned gal, this might be better for you anyway, regardless of whether or not you use the shimmers. I mean, ultimately it's up to you. So that's the conversation. I think those are the questions you need to ask yourself. I haven't tried the first one, so I don't know how I would like it. I mean, looking at the first original Orgy palette, I feel like I'm having the same thoughts as to when I originally tried this. I thought it looks like a lot of the looks are probably going to look the same. I didn't have that experience with this palette, but maybe I'd have it with the first one. Like, I honestly don't know. But if you want the Orgy 2 palette, should you get it? I think so. I don't see why not. I think this is a really good quality palette. I think this is another palette Jeffree has hit out of the park. I know that eye palettes are just on the downhill. Most people don't care about eyeshadow anymore. Most people don't wear eyeshadow anymore, and it's just on a downward dive. But Jeffree Star's eyeshadows have been recently consistently a lot better. Like, I don't know if anyone else feels that way, but check out the videos on my channel. The Pricked palette, the Star Wedding palette, the Gothic Beach palette. I have those on my channel, and they're not really color stories I would go for. But I've kept these palettes because the quality of the product is so good, and this is another example of that. I thought if all my looks look so similar together, I'd probably end up giving this away to my MUA cousin, but I'm actually going to keep another Jeffree Star palette because I didn't expect the range that this palette does give me. This is so, it's a good palette when you end up closing it down. It's very flat. It will lay flat. It doesn't take up too much space necessarily. It is a big palette, don't get me wrong, but it's not that quite like thick, okay? I had a fun time using this. I took my time using this. I didn't rush it. I wore looks at home. I wore looks out at events. I really wanted to live with this palette for a while instead of doing my usual, like, I'm gonna try a different eye look on each eye so I can get this review out as fast as possible and just not really sit with it. I've been sitting with this palette for a while now. I do like this palette. I do recommend this palette. But let me know, like I said, down below, what are your thoughts of Orgy versus Orgy 2? I'm happy with my Orgy 2 palette. Maybe down the line, I might end up purchasing the first one and redoing this video. But I hope this answers your questions. I hope that this does something for you. Because I've been sitting on this palette for a while now. But other than that, y'all have a great day. I'll see you next time.